Good morning and welcome back to the Adventures of Mac Anthea and a somewhat chilly day in Andalusia, Spain. So as you've probably guessed from the title and the thumbnail of this video is going to be about a full suspension mountain bike I've purchased via AliExpress from China, which is supposedly meant to be pretty high spec and pretty high quality. Now, for those of you who follow the channel, don't worry, I'm not retiring Old Dutch, which is another bike that I've actually built for doing touring. This bike is going to be the basis and the start point of another bike build that I'm going to be using for the more demanding sort of technical trails, whereas Dutch is a touring bike, which I do mainly day touring on, and as such has a sort of a more upright sitting position, and therefore I can't get my weight over the handlebars for the more demanding slopes going up, to the point sort of thing where, you know, I'm struggling to keep the sort of handlebars down on the ground. So yeah, this new bike hopefully is going to be more for that, for the more demanding trails. Okay, so I think without further ado, spin you around. Let's get this bike opened up and see what we've got. So this is it. I've already had a little peek just to make sure that, you know, it's not damaged, to see how well it's packed. Yep, so I think what I'm going to do is get all this cardboard cut open and carefully get it out. So we're looking fairly well packed. Box of something there. Got a quick check of it last night and there's no real immediate damage I can see by quickly looking at it. Okay, let's see if we can get this up onto the rack. Okay, I think that'll do for now. Okay, so I think I'm going to start by trying to get the handlebars on. Yeah, that's looking like this is going to have to be spun sort of 180 degrees and then this fitted. I'm just going to lower these forks a little bit so we can clear, and they dropped out the bottom then. Pinch them off slightly. I think I'm going to want them lowered anyway slightly, sort of motorbike style, so that they're in line with the top of the yokes as opposed to sticking out above, but we'll just see when I put it together later. Okay, so let's turn that round. Let's get these other bolts out and see if we can get the handlebars in. Okay, so that's handlebars on. I've left everything really loose at the minute so that we can manoeuvre it about, you know, and get in position afterwards, and I'll tweak everything up. So I think I'm going to get the front wheel on, see how that goes. I normally check the front wheel in the wheel alignment tool just to see that it's straight, but I think I'm just going to chuck it straight in. It looks pretty good, and see if we have any problems once we've ridden it. Okay, so slight change of plan. I think what I'm going to do is get the seat in first so I can get the steering wheel brace on and stop the steering from turning around while I'm trying to put the wheel in. Now there's a spacer here, I think this come out in the calipers. There we go, came out easy enough. Okay, that's just loosely in for the time being, and I'll readjust this up on the stand. Let's get the centre of gravity a bit better. Okay, and I think we're there. Okay, and that's basically it there. So I think what I'll do is we'll get all this packing off it and everything so we can have a proper look at it, and we'll talk a little about the spec on it and then what we plan to do with it. Okay, so that's basically it all together. I've took what packing off, bar on this bit here. I've just left to protect the frame a bit from the mount. Still got to tweak everything up and you know, set it up how I want it to fit me really. But that's quickly just run over the spec. Okay, so it's an aluminium frame. The wheels on this one are a 27.5 inch. They also do it in a 26 inch. You've got the oil twin shocks here. And oil rear shock here as well. I'll come back to that as well because there's also a different spec you can buy on that. You've got 11 speed gears, and you've also got their own brand of sort of derailleur and switching gear here. And I'll come back to that in a minute as well because there's also another option on that. It's apparently, we'll test it in a minute, weighs in at 17 kilos. Now, this is aluminium, but as far as I can see, I haven't seen my AliExpress yet, but if you go onto Alibaba, they apparently actually do this in a carbon fibre frame. That shaves it down to about 13 kilos. Now, for me, this is the standard of my biking and the standard, you know, of my cycling is, I don't need a carbon fibre frame. I don't need to pay the extra money for it. And I think it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's one of those things, if you need to worry about how much a carbon fibre frame costs, then you're cycling up to that stand either, because you'll be getting sponsored. So yeah, makes no difference to me. Now for an additional €200, you could also get these oil-filled shock absorbers in gas form. I didn't bother with them. Again, it's not going to make any difference to my ride whatsoever. I've got oil-filled forks on my motorcycles, and I'm quite happy to have them on the bicycle. I don't think I'm going to pay the extra €200 for the gas shocks, and that would also then include a Shimano switching gear and a Shimano derailleur, which if these aren't up to much and I'm struggling with, I may upgrade. But for me to upgrade that to Shimano, sort of the Dior range, which I've got on my other bike, that would cost me a little over €50. So certainly not worth spending the extra 200 on it to get the Shimano gears. Now, brakes are hydraulic apparently. I haven't had a close look at them, but I suspect they're probably only a single piston. Yeah, it looks like they're just a single piston on there. I'll test them and see if they're any good, and if not, I've also got my eye on some Shimano brakes as well. Okay, so what we're going to do to this bicycle, you know, I said it's going to be the basis of a build. What am I going to build out of this bicycle? Well, let me give you a quick clue. There we go. Yes, it's going to be converted into an e-bike. So I've offered the battery up there quickly as best I could, you know, with camera in one hand and battery in the other. Thankfully it fitted. Now, just a top tip here on if you're going to build an e-bike and you're ordering your bike brand new online and you're not sure whether your battery is going to fit, this is the method I used. Now, if you can get a photo, you're not going to get enough information about online about what the gap is between here, you know, from some e-commerce seller. You know, they'll be able to give you the height of the bike, the length of the bike, but not the dimensions there. So the technique I used is I found a photo where I could see the water bottle bolts, and they tend to be, in general, nearly all my bicycles, 65 millimeters apart. From there, it can give you, think about 65, so then that's double that, that's triple that, that's 4 times that. It gives you some idea by looking at the photo how much room you've got, and then you can get the dimensions of the battery and guess from there. It's not a precise science and it's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. And it's certainly these two nuts here for the water bottle give you some idea of a scale, so you're not, you know, completely gambling when you order your bike and order your battery separate. So why am I converting this e-bike, you know, from scratch, buying this bicycle and just not buying one directly off the shelf? Well, I did actually look on AliExpress for some bargains there, and they did have some really nice full suspension bikes, and they looked pretty good until I got down to specifications and I looked at the weight. They weigh 40 kilos, and even though they might look the part, I suspect they're probably only used for extra comfort on the trails, and certainly not for the more demanding technical trails, whereas, you know, heavyweight on a motorcycle is okay, but probably not so much on a bicycle. And I just felt 40 kilos was too much to be taken up on those trails. Also thinking ahead, I've got to lift that bike onto my bicycle rack on the motorhome, and whereas this might, you know, end up being about 20 kilos at the end of it with the motor on, no problem lifting that up onto the bike rack. You know, 40 kilos is a bit of a weight to be, you know, lifting on and off the bike rack, and also the additional stress it's going to put on the bike rack when it's just bolted basically through some fiberglass panels on the back of the motorhome. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, I've just quickly put this battery in place, put the mount on it. I only managed to get one of the water bottle bolts through. They're not in a position, the other one's sort of down here. So I'm expecting various challenges, you know, along the way of getting this fitted. Now, what I didn't mention before is all these, the cables and pipes actually run through the frame. And I plan to continue that theme if I can bring myself to actually drill holes through this beautiful paintwork and try and keep as much of the cabling like this internally inside the frame from the motor and everything. So this is a battery, shark nose battery, which I'm going to be fitting. I'm sticking to 48 volt rather than 52, and I'll be going for the 750 watt Barfang motor rather than the 1000 watt, which I did consider. There's pros and cons for both. I've used 750 watt on both the other bicycles we've got. We're happy with them, they get us up anything, so I don't really see the extra need to go for the 1000 and have, you know, the extra problems with that. We know the 750 works, it's tried and tested with us, so we're just going to stick with what we know. Okay, so I've tightened everything up and tweaked all the nuts and bolts up and set it up, and I took it for a quick ride. So I'm just going to spin you around and discuss a few bits and pieces, you know, bits that were different than what was shown in the picture, things I'm happy with and not particularly happy with. Okay, there's sort of differences all round. I mean, there's branding difference on here, which was different to the picture, which isn't a problem, you know, it was a special brand anyway. The colour is a darker candier red than what it was pictured at. They do ask you to allow a bit of difference in colours, and actually I prefer this colour to the actual colour that was in the pictures anyway, so that's not a problem. Lots of other sort of differences. There's this front cog here, and the picture had little different coloured Allen key bolts, so that's different again. The thing I'm not particularly happy with here is, you see on the jail, even though the gears work really well, this cable just sort of goes round this bit of plastic bit here. There's no wheel or anything like that, or pulley wheel. I can see that actually wearing in time, and then the gears going out of sync. So yeah, probably going to be a modification there. The thing I'm particularly a little bit disappointed on, they're a different type of fork, a different branded fork, which is fine, but is the difference between here and here on the picture. In the actual picture, it gives the impression on all the pictures that sort of from here to here, the distance from here to here on the lower part is at least that and half again. So really, you know, this should go from here sort of down to there before this part of the shock starts. So it should be, you know, there should be a bigger gap between here. It should make the bike sort of higher at the front. Also, I'm not particularly impressed with them. There's no top bumps on these forks. I hope I've used the right phrase there. It means basically when I'm sort of wheeling or the front end comes up, it's clunking the forks as if there's no rubber bumps stopping them on the, you know, as they bounce back up. They're also incredibly light, and twiddling these things on both sides doesn't really seem to make a lot of difference to that. So yeah, I'm thinking probably there's a set of forks on the cards in the future. So brakes, pretty good. They stopped it pretty, you know, not harshly, but you know, they reacted well to the levers. You pulled the levers gently, they applied gently. If you pulled them on hard, they locked the wheels up. So yeah, they were pretty good. I was happy with that. Seat's not bad for what it is, you know, seems quite, you know, quite comfy. There's a nice bit of foam on there and that. So yeah, that was pretty good. Rear suspension was good. No problem with rear suspension. That damps quite well. But yeah, it certainly doesn't make up for the very floppy front shock absorbers. So what did I pay for this bike? Well, in total I paid a little over €370, and that they quoted 152 for shipping, which they then reduced in the final you know, checkout. I don't know how that works, but the amount in the end at checkout was 371 something. So that's the maximum I paid for the whole thing, including shipping. Now I was expecting, and I think this is why they discount you a bit, you know, at the point of the checkout, is I was expecting some taxes on this, at least 21% here in Spain when this came in. Now they seem to have had the hang of this AliExpress and China shipping things into countries. This actually arrived here in the EU in the Netherlands, and then was shipped from the Netherlands to Spain. To be honest, if it had come direct from China to Spain to the post office service, I don't think they would have coped with it. I think it probably would have sat in the warehouse for 6 months. But this came to the Netherlands, and we shipped from the Netherlands to Spain. I took delivery of it yesterday, and I paid just under €15 in taxes on that. So I was pretty chuffed about that, because I was expected to pay sort of 80 in taxes, and then probably a handling charge of some sort from the Spanish Postal Service. So in reflection, thinking what you've paid, it's a pretty good bike. Also, what I forgot to mention is I've just weighed this bike. It's meant to be 17 kilos. As far as I could tell, putting the back wheel on the bathroom scales, I know it's not particularly accurate, it's actually between 12 and 13 kilos. It's pretty light, certainly when you compare it, to my other bike. So, full apologies for today. I'm not at my best today, and this probably isn't going to be a best of videos with me, stuttering and God knows what all the way through it. Just don't feel good, but I wanted to get on and get it done and check it out before I, acknowledge that I've received it and everything. I'm sure I've missed a load out, so please, if there's anything you want to know about this bike, please leave something down in the comments, and I'll certainly get back to you and let you know as best I can. I'll also leave a link down in the bottom to the bike, which was from a place called WolFAce, who on the whole were pretty good. Only advice I give to you if you do decide to purchase one, they come in numerous colours, is get in contact with them first on messaging and say, have you got this in stock in the warehouse for immediate dispatch? If you don't, the first time when I bought this, they didn't have it in stock, and they had to refund me, and I want a big hassle. They funded me quite quick and everything, so it wasn't a real hassle, but I wouldn't have had all that and had to go back and forth if I'd asked them that in the first place. So I think I'm going to end this video here. I will be doing a full conversion on this to an e-bike, using the Barfang 750 watt motor, the mid-drive motor, and that battery you saw earlier on. Please don't be expecting that sort of in the next fortnight or so, because it's probably, I normally have a habit when I've got my projects of getting everything together and sat there on the shelves ready, so when I've got time to get around and it's just sat there ready and I can get on with it. It could be a month and a half, could be 2 months before we start on that, so don't get upset if you subscribe solely on the basis for watching this being converted into an e-bike and you don't see anything for 2 months, because that could quite easily happen. So I think I'll end that video there. Please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.